From Mencari Newsroom at redmencari.com.
Hello everyone, I'm your host Miko Santos, bringing you today's top stories on this Sunday, May 18. Grab your coffee and settle in as we break down what's happening across the nation and beyond in just 5 minutes. The federal government have submitted its recommendation to the Fair Work Commission, pushing for what they're calling economical sustainable real wage increase for around 3 million awards workers across Australia. Treasurer Jim Chalmers is sounding pretty confident about the economic condition supporting this move, telling reporters.
Wages and the cost of living were front and centre in our first term, they were front and centre in the campaign, and they will be front and centre in the second term as well. Decent pay, better wages, decent conditions, great jobs. These are Labor's reasons for being, and you can see that in the progress that we've made together on wages, on jobs, in the labour market and the economy more broadly. And you can see it in the submission that we are lodging today. Today we are lodging our submission to the Fair Work Commission's annual wage review, which is all about recognising that millions of Australians on awards need and deserve decent pay so they can work hard and provide for their loved ones.
Labor went to the election with a really great plan to address cost of living issues, and part of that was supporting wage increases.
Workplace Relation Minister Amanda Risworth is backing this up, putting to some genuine promising economic indicator.
Well, look, what we've got to do and what we've done is delivered on our election commitment, which was to put a submission into the Fair Work Commission. Of course, the Fair Work Commission will make an independent decision, but what we're saying is that many of our low-paid workers are still feeling cost of living pressures, and that's why we would like to see a real wage increase. But obviously, that needs to be done in the context of economic conditions, and so we've put forward, though, a very principled position that there needs to be a real wage increase for Australia's lowest paid workers, because they are doing it tough still under cost of living pressures.
But not everyone thrilled with this position. The Australian Chamber of Commerce and Industry is pushing back, suggesting an increase of only around 2.5 to 2.6%, citing step business cost increase. The big question remains, how much of an increase is truly economically sustainable right now? Last year, the Commission granted a 3.75% increase. We'll be watching closely to see where they land this time. The Green Party Rooms meeting had delivered what they're calling a puff of green smoke, with Queensland Senator Larissa Waters anonymously elected as their new leader. This is a significant moment for the party, which now holds the sole balance of power in the Senate. Waters, an environmental lawyer by training, is signaling both a return to environmental roots and a pragmatic approach.
But we are now in the sole balance of power in the Senate. So the government does have a choice. They can work with the coalition and, just keep the status quo and see inequality get worse, keep opening new coal mines and, see the planet just continue to burn. Or they can work with the Greens, and we want to see action to protect nature. We want to make sure that we can have free childcare, that we can put dental into Medicare, that we can have strong renewable energy targets and strong climate emissions reduction targets, just do things that will help people and protect the planet. So
Water is promising to be firm but constructive in negotiation with the government, a notable shift in tone following criticism that the Greens were obstructionists and under former leader Adam Banff. With the 48th Parliament now almost entirely finalized, Waters' leadership will be crucial in determining which legislation gets through the upper house. The government now face a choice: work with the coalition or work with the Greens to pass their agenda. Here's something fascinating. New research from Australian Institute suggests that the days of media moguls deciding Australian election are officially over. Report co-author Joshua Black shared some eye-opening stat with the ABC News on Friday.
Well, I mean, there will continue to be a role for public broadcasters in a cluttered and crowded media landscape like the one we have at the moment. But more generally, the results of the 2025 election very clearly show us that the influence of what were once Australia's very powerful media dynasties, that influence is declining. And the path is very clearly open to Australia's leaders, Australia's parliamentarians, to pursue a much bolder, more ambitious kind of politics if they so... Well, in the last two elections particularly, the voters clearly defied the messages that they were getting from the major media companies in their newspaper endorsements on election eve. So for a period of about 30 years, at almost every Australian federal election, the majority of newspapers officially endorsed the winning party. That wasn't the case in 2022, and it certainly wasn't the case at this election, where less than a third of Australia's major newspapers endorsed the Albanese government on election eve. So clearly, I mean, that's one very obvious indicator where we see media influence declining quite in a marked way.
What's replacing this influence? It seems social media and influencer are stepping into the power vacuum. Black pointed out that single TikTok from influencer Abby Chatfield could attract about 600,000 views, roughly two-thirds of estimated readership of major newspaper in Victoria. The TV debates, once considered high-stake moments in campaign, are also losing relevance, while around 70% of voters watched at least one leadership debate back in 1993. The most recent election saw debates attracting a maximum of just 12% of viewers. This shift has major implications for how political parties communicate with voters and how Australians receive their political information. The media landscape is transforming before our eyes. The Liberal Party has elected Susan Lee as the first female federal leader, a historic moment coming right after their significant election defeat. Former Liberal Party political advisor Christy McSweeney is calling this a sensible start to demonstrate that the party is moving forward, but she also highlighting deeper structural issue around the female representation.
Menzies actually established the Liberal Party of Australia with a vision to enshrine mandated gender spots for women in the administration of the Liberal Party, which meant at a time when women couldn't work when they were married or couldn't get a bank account or couldn't get a financial loan, they were able to hold senior positions in the Liberal Party. And we have that to this day with female vice president, female member elected of chairs of positions in our party. So it's not a large stretch when we hear people who make this argument, this blanket argument about merit, which doesn't unpack many of the structures in our party that has led to the electoral reality that women in our party are not working and raising families like they are in the Labor Party. Those structures need to be unpacked. We need to answer the questions of why our party differs in the way it looks to Australian women to the Labor Party. But we can't say it's not in the spirit of Menzies, because it is. That's how he set up the party.
With the Greens now led by Larissa Waters and Liberals by Susan Lee, pressure might mount on Labor to consider female leadership position as well. Thought Waters declined to comment directly on this, saying she's not going to give a free advice to other parties. Despite warning from energy analysts and industry group, the government will fail short of its 2030 renewable energy target by a significant 14% points. Deputy Prime Minister Richard Marles is standing firm.
What we have done over the last 3 years is unlock investment in renewable energy, and we are seeing massive investment in renewable energy around the country now. Renewable energy, firmed by gas, firmed by batteries, firmed by hydro, is ultimately the pathway by which we achieve net zero emissions by 2050, and we transition our economy to being a much more modern, high-tech economy. We're on track to do that, and we're on track to do that because we're pursuing consistent energy policy.
The renewable energy debate plays on significant in the Hunter region during the election campaign, with numerous energy transition projects proposed, despite prediction that coalition might be pick up seats there. Labor activists saw a swing toward them in Hunter, Peterson, Newcastle and Shortland. This suggests Labour energy transition messaging may be resonating with voters in traditional coal-focused region, a potential significant shift in Australia's political dynamic. That's all for today's news. I'm Miko Santos, bringing you the latest headlines on Sunday, May 18. Stay informed, stay engaged, and we'll catch you tomorrow with more breaking story from across Australia and beyond. Have a great Sunday, and don't forget to subscribe or be a paid subscriber at readmencari.com.
Subscribe to Mencari for news with authentic Gen X perspective, cutting through the noise with zero fluff. Available now across all podcast platforms. News without the noise, perspective without the panic.